Hello, this is Mr. Doty. I am going to go over limits today on this video. Hopefully I can make it short and hopefully it makes it a little clearer for you. So basically in AutoCAD, you've got as much space, as much area to use as you have hardware. So that's your memory, your hard drive space, your processing power. Um, the memory is probably your most, well, that's the one that's your limiting factor for the most part. That limits how much you can have in memory at one time, and so that limits how much space you can use in here. So that being what it is, limits are important because if you go too far outside of the limits, you won't be able to draw. So if you ever run into something where you can't draw and you can draw in some other part of the screen, then you've probably gone outside the limits. And so why are limits important? Limits are important because it tells AutoCAD how big of an area that you want to use, and so that it can zoom, and now it won't let you draw if you're too far outside of the units or the limits. So anyway, let's talk about limits. Now some of you guys may or may not have this pull down menu up here. So this is your quick access toolbar up here at the top with the big A, right? And over here to the right of it, mine has a little share button next to it. Between that and the redo button, you've got a little down arrow, and yours will say, if you don't have it turned on, yours will say show menu bar. And you click on show menu bar, and now you've got all these pull down menus, right? Well, there's one called Format. Format has a lot of the different style manager things that are the different managers. Well, there's styles, different styles. In other settings, like there's a line type setting, a line weight, transparency, text style, dimension style, table style, multi-leader style, point style, multi-line style, units, and then drawing limits. Now, when we talk about units, when I say you need to look at the units of your drawing or your project to help determine the limits, well, I'm not talking about go set your units here. The only time that you're going to change this is if you're not doing mechanical drawings. If you're doing architectural drawings where you need to see feet and inches, then, or decimal feet, whichever, then you're going to use architectural for that. If you're just drawing in millimeters or inches, then you're going to leave it on decimal because we use decimals. And you'll notice that there's a precision here. This precision is set to 4 places, which is very important, I think, because if you want to go down to a 1/16 of an inch, you're going to be 0.625, which if you round it up, anytime you round, you can cause issues with measuring, okay? Now, this is for drawing, okay? This says drawing, okay? This has nothing to do with your dimension style. That's a completely different thing. That's based off of what your project needs to be tolerance to, okay? So anyway, we're going to leave this on decimal, we're going to leave it on 4 places, and we're going to hit OK. That's not the units that it is, but it isn't. So it's like, what is my project? It's metric or inch, but it's not architectural, so I don't need to put it in architecture. I'm going to leave it on decimal. Okay. So then I think about, okay, well, if it's metric or inch, how big is it? Well, we need to know how big our base limits are. So like I said, you can either go up here to Format and go to Drawing Limits, or you can type in limits, enter, and it'll pop up down here in the command line. Now, if your command line doesn't look like this, that's okay. If you were to, and I'll just go ahead and show you, I'll just get out of it for a minute. So like if yours looks like this, and then you just pull it straight down, and then you can make it 3 or 4 tall, and that way you can see what's going on down here. And you know, you don't have to click down here to type in a command. You can type it in wherever you want, okay? So like when I type in limits, you know, you don't have to put it down there in the thing, in the command line, all right? So limits, lower left is always 0, 0. Remember your Cartesian coordinates, you know, you've got to the right and up is going to be positive, to the left and down is going to be negative. Think of it that way. So we're going to go positively to the right and up whatever size we need. So we start off at 0, 0, and we hit enter, and we go to the next one. And so the next one says 12 by 9. So that is your base limit. Well, if your drawing is an inch drawing and it's small, like maybe 4 inches long, 2 inches deep, 2 inches tall, that's going to fit within a 12 by 9. And you basically just have to think about how big is your object. Now obviously if it's metric, it's probably going to be bigger. Let's say it's 50 by 30 by 70. You know, it's 70 long, 30 deep, and 50 tall or something like that. Well then, you know, you're going to need more space, because if you try to draw something, then it's just going to kind of like pop off of your screen, right? Because right now it's set to 12 by 9. Okay, well, if I were to leave that 12 by 9 and I were to draw a line and I said, okay, I want it to be 50, then, oh, well, there it is. It's still on the page. But what happens is, if I continue doing this, then I may not be able to zoom in and out very well, and then because it's so far out of the limits, normally what happens is you're not zoomed out far enough to where it zips on out of your screen. Okay, I'll just be honest with you, normally that's the way it works. And you know, students are like, what the heck? Well, at first it wasn't a big deal of, hey, you need to adjust your limits, because you do your limits and then you zoom all or zoom extents so that you can see everything. So limits, L-I-M-I-T-S. Lower is always 0, 0. Upper corner. Well, let's say our object is 50, like by 40, by 70. So if it's 70 long, and let's see. So let's say that the overall width was going to be like 120. Well, I like to go big just a little bit. And usually what I'll do is, so let's say it was 120 wide. Well, I'll just make it a square, because maybe I don't need that much height, but still, a square is easy, right? So I could type in 150, comma 150, enter. And now if I go back into limits, it should say 0, 0, and 150, 150, right? So that's good. And I'm just hitting enter to go through it. It's okay. All right, so now the thing is, what you should always do next is you should always do a zoom, and then you're either going to do E for extents or all, A for all. So I did zoom extents, and see, I drew it 150 long, right? So, but it'll work. And now I have a little extra room, so if I did need something that big, I'd be in good shape. So anyway, that's limits, and that's basically, you think about your units. Is it metric? Is it inch? How big is it? Is it going to fit inside of a 12 wide by 9 tall square or rectangle? And if it won't, then you need to go into limits. You need to, so basically when you start a drawing, think about what units you're using. Do I need to change my limits? Then if you need to change your limits, you change your limits. Then when you're done setting your limits, and of course, you remember, you go into limits, and 0, 0 is fine. You hit enter. Then you decide what the next size needs to be. And if it needs to be, even if it's an inch drawing and it won't fit in a 12 by 9, you know, think about that's about an A size sheet, you know, close. It's a little bit bigger than an A size sheet of paper. So if it won't fit there, then you need to go bigger. And you need to think about what size would work. And I'll like I said, I do a square and I go oversize, and that's kind of how it works. All right, so don't forget that once you set your limits, to do a zoom, Z, enter, and let's say I can do A for all. Extents does more of your limit size. All will go bigger, and so it just depends on which one you want to do. I used to always do all, and now I kind of go in between. Just depends on what I want to do. All right, well, that's basically limits, and that's an 11-minute video, so I guess we'll see you on the next one. Have fun.